So let's recap Parenthood Farewell Season, Episode 5, called The Scale of Affection is Fluid. This is referring to Max and his quest to do something about the fact that he likes a girl. It's kind of a huge thing in his life, and so he goes around telling everybody and, asking for advice. And so his dad said common interests. So he immediately goes into stalker mode and goes over her drawings and says, I need to find a common interest, drawing or horses. Problem is that, he hates drawing and he hates horses. So he's kind of like at a loss, but he's still like, I like this girl. And the problem is that with his Asperger's, he doesn't really know how to go from there. So he gets a bunch of books, and he says, these people are experts, and so these people will tell me what I need to know. He also gets advice from his grandfather and his Uncle Crosby at a little cookout that they have in Adam's backyard, which was really, really fun, except for the fact that they go over the bases with Max. And Christina's like, no, 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 no. And Christina's having a really hard time with this, not only because she doesn't like Dylan, she thinks she's a bad influence or whatever, but also because she doesn't think that Dylan will ever like Max back, because she calls him Asperger's and she makes a joke about everything. And Adam is like totally for this. Everything Adam is saying is like, I need to believe that this is possible. They come up with this idea of the scale of affection, that, one person can like someone this much and the other person can like someone at a different level. And so they say that, she may like him at a 2, whereas he likes her at a 5. 5 being romantic and 1 being strictly in the friend zone. And so what Max does is he goes up to her and he literally says, I need to know your number for me. I need to qualitatively analyze where you are in this relationship. And at first she's like, okay, I'll say 2. And so Max says, I can work with that, because that's the level where my parents were. After he, leaves, she's like, maybe 2.5. So, yeah, there may be something there, maybe not, but... Speaking of, Grandpa and Uncle Crosby. Uncle Crosby is having some really difficult times at home because, as we know, he got into a motorcycle accident and riding around on his motorcycle like a crazy person, all the time needing to get out and drive and just get away from the craziness of his life, because as we all know, he's had a rough time with Oliver last week, who's just ditched his contract, and his kids are kind of crazy, and work is just stressing him out, and he's got fractured ribs, which are never good. And so Jasmine decides to take initiative because she doesn't want Crosby to hurt himself again. She locks up his motorcycle and says, you cannot drive it. I will give you 2 reasons, Jabbar and Aida. Those are pretty good reasons. Crosby's taking the anti-woman approach. And since Zeke is kind of feeling like that with Camille driving him to his appointments all the time, Crosby says, hey, I'll drive you and we'll make a day of it. Yeah, so Zeke is walking better, thanks to the guidance of Christina. But, he's still going to therapy, and he's still taking it sort of slow. So he's just a fountain of wisdom right now. So he kind of sees his father in therapy, and he's, really tough. He wants to go faster on that treadmill, but, sometimes he can't. And so it was pretty symbolic for Crosby, which, never was really explained, but the fans got to see it. And so in the bar, he kind of lets loose, and he says, everything that's been bothering him. And, he says, Dad, you're so strong, like you scared a bear, and, when we were really afraid. And so what Zeke says is that you need to take some time and relax and enjoy your life right now. You need to scare the bear, because it'll all be gone in a minute. It's a little emotional, and I'm really scared because the way Crosby's acting. I mean, he got crazy drunk this episode, and Jasmine had to come pick him up. I'm scared that Crosby's going to do something really bad this season, because it's the farewell season, something bad's going to happen, and I have a feeling Crosby is, one of the candidates for that to happen to. Things are also happening with Julia and her boyfriend, Chris. Yes, okay, not Joel's name is Chris, and he's a lawyer dude who is weaving his way into Julia's children's lives by coming to their party and playing basketball with them and telling them, oh, you are awesome at basketball, and basketball is going to replace baseball. So if it wasn't enough that he's spending time with Joel's kids and advising them to do things, he also is a basketball lover and a baseball hater. Take that, Joel! Joel was like so angry about this because Julia never told him, and like he's in his kids' lives, and so I think he would have a right to know that, you know, her boyfriend is now gonna be hanging out with his kids, and he's just there watching his children bond with their new daddy, and it's really, really terrible because he's standing there thinking, I did this. I wasn't open to Julia talking when she was ready, and now that I'm ready, I've missed my chance. And so this is hitting him really hard, and he just hates when his kids are talking about how cool Chris is. It's one of those things, like, you know, he don't want to hear about how awesome their mom's new boyfriend is. And Adam kind of picks up that something's going on with this guy, and so he's like, yeah, come in, have a burger, come on, play basketball. Trying to mess with the situation, just like a big brother. And lastly, Amber, who is pregnant but trying to still live her life, meets this guy at her coffee shop, and he asks her out. And, you know, she's asking for advice from Drew and his girlfriend, and she's like, no, she can't just, you know, stay in. She's not ill. She's just pregnant, and she needs to live her life. And so she goes out with this guy at the dog park, and they're really adorable with dogs, and they really click. Problem is that she doesn't want to tell him that she's pregnant, and Drew says, you have to, because if he finds out later, it'll be like you were lying. And she's like, no, 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 you're right. She tells him, it's all, oh, okay, congrats, I'll call ya. And so Amber, of course, takes that as, my life is over, no man is ever going to want to touch me again, I can't drink, I can't, you know, do all this stuff, and oh my gosh, my life is over. And Drew tells her, Amber, your life is not over. I mean, your life is just beginning. I mean, look at their mom, you know. She's, you know, in her late 40s and she's got a boyfriend. So Drew is really the one with the wisdom here, even though Amber's the one going through everything. So I have a feeling that Drew is going to be, you know, a consistent shoulder for Amber, which, of course, he's always been. But will we ever see that coffee guy again? Who knows? Let's hope that Joel and Julia don't screw things up too bad. Crosby's gonna be okay. Zeke gets progressively better, and Christina helps Max through this, and see where that goes.